Greetings and salutations of peace. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Channel. You know, knowledge is truly power, but it is something that the masses of people do not have. In the midst of the calamities of the world, if the masses truly had wisdom or knowledge, things would not be the way that they are. It is said that we are controlled by a group of people called the Illuminati. And this Illuminati, at one time, it was said that there were 60 families. Now those 60 families have been chiseled down to 13 families. And who knows, it might be 6. But that 1% controls the rest of the world. There's a reason for that. They are called Illuminati. Illuminati means the enlightened ones. We will look briefly at the state of the world. The masses of people, the ones that they call sheeple, has no consensus. They do not control themselves. If they would govern themselves, if they had self-control, if they knew themselves, if they were self-governed, there could be no slavery. There would be no riots in the streets. They would exercise the power that they had through their knowledge. And I want to cover these bases. I decided to wear my hair out to prove a point, to prove how ignorant we are as a people, how prejudiced we are as an ignorant masses. And you know what I'm talking about. There are Christians, so-called Christians, or people who think they're Christians, and I've listened to a lot of the white commentary, a lot of the white Christian independent news sources. If we would all notice that, and I know that a lot of you have seen this, anything Egypt, anything from Egypt, it is viewed as Satanism by the fundamentalists. You have people that come out and give great wisdom, great knowledge. For instance, it's like I use the analogy of a Christian preacher on Sunday morning. He preached and inspired the televangelists. They preach an inspired sermon. And you become inspired by what he's saying, and a lot of what he's saying is true. Then he get down to the point where he says, and Jesus is Lord. And once he get to the point where Jesus is Lord, the whole sermon is rendered null and void. You see, there's no understanding. There's no true knowledge amongst the people. You know, they don't understand that the script itself that they read from came from the walls of the Great Pyramid. They don't have the knowledge that the wisdom that they do have, the book that they read from, is in essence astrotheology, that it comes from the movements of the stars. And from the movements of the stars, it's called astrotheology. And from the movements of the stars is coded in the book as allegory, metaphor, and similes. And every noun has a deeper level of meaning. And then there are those same people don't face the fact or don't realize that it wasn't until the Council of Nicaea, the Nicene Council, that those pages, that book was compiled. Before that, it was no such thing as a Bible. So we have this great confusion. It's like white people saying that they're Cherokee, that they're this Indian and they're that Indian. You know, it's all, I don't like to use profanity, and I try not to use it because I feel that it makes what you're saying non-authoritative. It shows a weakness in the person delivering the message. It shows, it don't show self-control. It doesn't show intelligence. And they're always saying, those same fundamentalists, and mostly white people, because they are the authoritative ones, and they feel just because their voice sounds authoritative that they have some authority. But I heard Yogananda say, the great sage Yogananda from India, said he was riding on a train one day and they were discussing the ignorance of the people in America and the people in India. He said he saw it as 50-50. So I'll use that same analogy about the white people and the black people and the red people and all the people, all the four nations. And I heard someone else say that there were 5 nations. I know that the Indians were given 4 pieces of coin by the ant people, and these different type maize represented the 4 races. But there's another race called the mixed race. So there's 5 races. One race is a hybrid race. And the truth and the foundation of the truth, the people just don't have it. If they had that, we wouldn't have no problems. If we knew, I mean, if the 10th tablet of the 10th Sumerian tablet, there was a conversation between Enki and his brother, and they decided to, for posterity, for the future, to let the people know who built the monuments. So they say, we're going to put the face of Enki on this Sphinx, the holy cat there in Egypt and Plateau. We're going to put Enki's face on there that the people in the future would make no mistake, have no doubt about who built the great monument. So it's proof that the gods, the ones that dictated the script, were black. The nose, and they cut the nose off, and they try to blow the nose off, but it's so obvious. I mean, you can't deny it. So as far as God is concerned, if you say the Bible is the Word of God, the Holy Word of God, the Bible is the Holy Word of men, the Anunnakis, the super beings. Their faces, the old Mecmaya, the Nagas in Cambodia, Alalu on the moon, i.e. on Mars. That's God. Now, there is a force, the energy, the intelligence that's in the seed of the man, in the seed that grows the food, that grows the flower, the force that moves the wind, the intelligence that allows us to breathe, that gives us life. That's the energy in the sun. That's the energy of all things. That dwells within me as me. That dwells within you as you. Everything from the smallest atom, the tiniest atom, to the largest star is He. So we can call that Allah, the all in all. That's beyond, that energy is beyond flesh and bone. So, instead of an image, we can worship that. You see, you have to worship Jesus in spirit. Well, that's the only spirit there is. The elements, earth, wind, fire, earth, wind, air, fire, Yahweh, the 4 elements. That's the essence of it. That's the truth. But the masses of the people don't know that. So the Masonic rituals, the wisdom of the illuminated ones, they know this, so they put it all in codes. They put it all in codes. They put it all in codes. So, we have a problem, a grave problem, because the biasness, and it's all ignorance. I coined a phrase back in the 80s. Evil is ignorance, not knowing itself to be so. It's oftentimes ignorance, not knowing itself to be so. So that's ignorance. Buddha said it. Jesus, in essence, said it. And there are some people, a lot of black people I know. Matter of fact, one of my best friends, we fall out a lot because, he get talking about Jesus, and when he says Jesus, he always emphasizes Jesus. And I'm always have to be the one that's playing with it. I say, well, it is what it is. Many are called, few are the chosen. And, a lot of you out there is going to call me crazy, wild, and, you never heard about the Essenes. I told a brother once, I said, well, Jesus was taught by the masters of the mystery schools. Jesus don't need any teaching because Jesus was God. He came down in the flesh as God himself, and he died on the cross for our sin. We are all screwed up. We are really screwed up. I mean, I understand what he's saying because I understand the allegory and the simile. But we are really, really, really messed up. I heard the Reverend Manning, David Manning. He's a real intelligent guy. I really love Pastor Manning. I don't know whether he's worked for the government or not, but what he says is a lot of truth. Like the boy, that guy that, what's his name, that always, InfoWars guy there. He might work, they say he worked for the government. I don't know, but I don't know if the government is that sick. They got these people out here trying to tell them a little bit of truth. I don't know whether that's a part of propaganda or not. I am a journalist and I have had inside information on a few things. I've covered some big issues in my lifetime. But we're really screwed up. I heard Manning argue with someone out in front of the church, a black lesbian woman. And they were talking about, they were calling Manning sick because he was saying that the lesbians and gays, the homosexuals, and the transvestites were going to hell. I don't necessarily agree with this thing called hell, but maybe it is a place where they're going to go when it's all over. I mean, when the walls fall down on us and we're in here, we all going to burn up. So we all might go to hell, but they don't. What my point is there are people on Orb-ship Earth in 2016, and we're actually in the age of Aquarius. I've said a few times that in the year 1881, the sun started moving slowly out of the house of Pisces. So it took 131 years to 2013, and the age of Aquarius dawned about the same time that Christopher Donner was having his police conflict with his brothers there, the police force. But we're here in the age of Aquarius, and these people, these women, men, don't even realize that they're sick. So I've learned that through my studies, through studying counseling, alcohol and drugs and all that thing. I learned, not even through that, I mean, just common sense told me if a person is not aware that he's sick, that he's mentally ill, then he's considered clinically insane. So we have people out there clinically insane that don't realize that it's wrong, that same-sex marriages is wrong. So just because the government passed these laws that it's politically correct, and it's not politically correct to talk about these people, they're confused. So they think that, I mean, they're just confused. They think that it's okay. They think that it's right. And how can you propagate when you're dealing with the same sex? And then I heard that your president, old Abomination, say every person should have the right to love the person that, yeah, you have the right to love who you want to love, but you don't have the right to, a man don't have his right to stick his penis in another man's butt. That's totally crazy. So if you got people on the planet like that, I mean, what the hell? So we all might go to hell on a bobsled. And especially if we allow this criminal Hillary Clinton. I mean, I've read things in the news. I don't know the woman personally. I don't want to know her. I mean, she just looks evil to me. I mean, her vibration is bad to me. I hate to even hear her talk. And I definitely don't want to be subject to someone that's evil. So we're here subject to evil people. had a bottle of Zephyr Hill water, and I tasted water, and it's nasty. It's not pure spring water. And right on the plastic jug, and there's poisons leaching out of the jug, and I could taste it. I've been a vegetarian for over 35 years, and I could taste the poison coming out of the water. And there's one water in that red jar. I can't remember the name of it. It's the only pure water that I know of. But I'm so poor at the moment. I don't have the money to get the water, to drive the distance to get the water from where I'm at. So I had to settle for Zephyr Hill. And at one time I drank Zephyr Hill for years, but I wasn't on the level that I'm on now to be able to taste that that's actually sink water that's maybe been processed a little bit and it's still nasty. So here we are on a planet where they're killing us with chemtrails. It's a direct attack on our health and on our mentality. And we have to live in a world like that on top of ignorant people. Don't know how the script got here. Don't know what God is. And you have Muslims, you got Arabs. That's fundamentalists also. And everybody think that their religion is the right religion. So I remember a song back from the 60s or the 70s called Ball of Confusion. We're living on this ball of confusion. So, I want to address something else too. I wrote the Holy Book of Wonder. I started back in the year 1980, and it's not getting that many sales at all. I've sold maybe 60 books since last year, and I understand why they're not selling. It's not because I'm not marketing the books, but a lot of people that listen to me, they feel like they know me. So we have this mentality. You know, they say a prophet is not. No, I'm not even saying I'm a prophet, but they say a prophet is not given credit in his own town and all that. People are just totally insane. You know, they for one thing, your peers don't want to empower you. So that's the evil right there. Now, if I was cursing, and if I was like these other charismatic brothers that's not saying a damn thing, none of those brothers are giving us any solutions to our problems. They're just entertaining us. You know, I remember everybody was fascinated by Bobby Hemmett. They were sending him money. They were fascinated by Phil Valentine. They're fascinated by a lot of people. And none of those brothers come close to what I'm saying. I'm the only person that's speaking out now, and I've been speaking out for on the internet ever since YouTube came out. Even before that, when we had just only MSN chats, and that was back in the 90s. And I'm the only person that gave a solution. And very few people have really taken a look at that solution. And if you look at it, I've taught just about everybody that's saying anything about anything. This is the source. So I'm saying that I know for a fact that in our music, there was a message. We had 7 major prophets: Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, respectively. Bob Marley, Stevie Wonder, Maurice White of Earth, Wind and Fire, Marvin Gaye, George Clinton, Frankie Beverly of Maze, and there was a brother. His name was Kenny Gamble. He changed his name now. He did that song, The Soul Train Thing, and that song, The Soul Train Thing, was answered by Lee Scratch Perry in a song called 23rd Dub, dealing with the mystery of the Sirius mysteries. 23 is the resonant number of Sirius. So that Sirius energy is in the music of Stevie Wonder. In The Secret Life of Plants, he talks about the rotation of Ptolemy, the smallest star around the largest star Sirius. That's in his music. So in the year, I believe it was 1973, he had a wreck. He had a premonition that he was going to die. And he didn't know why he felt like he was going to die. He knew he wasn't a criminal. He knew he hadn't did anything. Nobody didn't want to kill him. So he knew something was fixing to happen. So one day he was driving to a concert. His cousin was driving the concert. He went to sleep. And his cousin ran into the back of a Pulpwood truck And one of the stories go that the back of the Putwood truck crashed through the windshield and hit Stevie in the head. Okay, Stevie Wonder went into a coma then. He had already sang Higher Grounds. And he went into a coma, stayed in the coma for a while. And he said wherever he went when he was in the coma, it was a much better place. And he said he learned from there, wherever he was, what he had to do in life. So when he came out of the coma, and I realized through my studies that when you go into a coma, your soul leaves your body. So my research showed me that his body went to, the Anunnaki programmed him. So his body went to Nibiru. It left the planet. And when he came back down, he was programmed. There was a message in his music. And we've already told you about Serial Life of Plants and serious songs in there. So in the album Hotter Than July, note that indicates the dog days. We're in that now, where Sirius conjuncts our sun. It's in the back of our sun. It conjuncts our sun. So on the 23rd, about 7 days ago, that happened. Sirius conjunct our sun on the 23rd. It was also Haile Selassie's birthday. So there's a song, that album is called Hotter Than July. So Hotter Than July, or that depict the dog days. And so one of the lyrics in the song Master Blaster Jamming says, when you're moving in the positive, your destination is the brightest star. And the brightest star of the heavens is Sirius. So that information is there. It's a code. And so in the 80s, when that song was hot, when it first came out, it said, we're in the middle of the makings of the Master Blaster Jamming. Same meaning as Noah was building his ark. God told Noah to build his ark, and from the literal translation. But we know everything comes from the Sumerian text. But the literal translation of our book called Bible, God told Noah to build his ark. So we were doing the same thing, building an archetypical ark or the esoteric ark. When it says we're in the middle of the making of the Master Blaster Jamming, we were making the ark, gathering all the information, getting ready to teach it like I've been doing it ever since then for the last 35 years. So I had an encounter with Stevie Wonder at the Rally for Peace press conference in the year 1981 at the United Press building in Washington, D.C. He was lobbying to get the Martin Luther King's birthday as a national holiday. And so in that album also, the song Happy Birthday was symbolic of the King Haile Selassie, but it was a song written for Martin Luther King to get his brother's birthday the national holiday, but it was in a reggae rhythm. So note that Stevie Wonder was influenced by the Rastafari vibration by Bob Marley. So there was to be a concert called the Master Blaster Jamming on a higher level than Woodstock. So that's a reality. So I've been writing about that and of my journey trying to get to Stevie Wonder. We'll get back to that. So we know that Stevie Wonder is a friend of Obama, so it appears. But we know Obama is corrupt. There was a security force surrounding Stevie Wonder called the La Rota Group. So I noticed that the La Rota Group was a clandestine security firm with some of the members of the security firm were ex-government people. So that's the energy they have around Stevie Wonder. And notice that the government chose Stevie Wonder. They say he's a national treasure. They have him as a national treasure. And they chose him for the United Nations Ambassador of Peace. So here I am, a poor Rasta man, been trying to get back to Stevie. He told me at the press conference to get it together. I had a little manuscript at the time that I gave to Reggie Wiggins, his road manager back in those days. I met with his manager before he died, Ewart Abner, who told me that he would give me the concert if indeed I knew what I was doing. I've protested in front of his building. I've traveled out to Black Bull ever since 1981, almost every year straight in a row. And I've had encounters with his brothers who told me that I would never get to him. So they are familiar with me at Black Bull on Magnolia Boulevard at Burbank, California. I've also met with people at his radio station there in Inglewood, California, as recently as this year. Actually, as a matter of fact, I was there also at Black Bull May 13th, was on a Friday the 13th of this year, 2016. So they are very familiar with me at Black Bull. But the government and his people would not allow me an interface. Steve is a blind man, so he don't have total control of himself. But the government is aware what I'm trying to do. But I have no fear because it's ordained by the gods. And I thought it would happen years ago, but I realized that everything that's happening now had to happen. Things had to be revealed. So now we're getting down to the wire because there's some energies coming down next year that we must make the sound before a certain time. It's our redemption. Like Bob Marley say, we free our music, we free our people with music. So what I'm saying in my book, The Holy Book of Wonder, explains all this, and it shows us what we are to do. There is no other communicator, there's no other journalist, there is no other communicator or speaker in the world currently that has a solution other than myself. I represent the Rastafari movement. I'm making these statements tonight because my message is being jammed. I have over 1,000 videos. I've been very prolific over the years. Since 2007, I have 2 YouTube channels, and I realize that that's not my channel. I don't own YouTube. I don't own Facebook. We don't own anything. So I'm at the whim of them. They're starting to censor my stuff. They're going back and looking at copyright laws, and I have a feeling they're going to be taking down a lot of my stuff, a lot of my communications. And it's very vital, the things that I have been saying. I remember back in the year 2002, we created a website. Our premier website was called UNN 13. And UNN 13 was almost like Google. Anytime you put anything about Nibiru, anything concerning that type thing and what was going on in the world, end time prophecies and all that, you would come to UNN 13. So a lot of people that's talking about Nibiru now, that's where they get it from. And I'm saying this to say that the government has always watched us. We had trackers back in those days. We were big. We were running neck and neck with the major news firms. When I covered the Beltway sniper trial, I was in the same room with Washington Post and all those other big people. And the Washington Post did a story on me doing that. So what I'm trying to show you is the cause out that you see that the Rastafari movement is very valuable. Anytime the Washington Post do a column on you, you're somebody important. So there's never been another Rastafari on our ship Earth that had that type coverage. So just a few years ago at American Beach, they came out and they did an interview again, keeping up with me, seeing what I was doing. But I've had some things taken off of YouTube. And the censorship, now that the things are changing, the Black Lives Matter and all that distraction, things are really changing. So we have to be mindful of you might be turning away something that's very valuable to you. So if there are ones out there that are not in a reprobate state of mind, we ask you to look beyond the dreadlocks. That's why I don't smoke on my videos anymore. As a matter of fact, I hadn't had any cannabis in about 3 or 4 months. I have very great self-control. So I don't want anybody to have any kind of excuse not to listen to what I'm saying, because you're so hypocritical, you faggots and gay people out there sinning and stuff, and you say, oh, he's smoking weed, he's not credible. But if I was Bob Marley making a lot of money and on television, you would listen to me. That's the kind of mindset that we have. And you know, if Jesus were to return right now, you would turn against him because you wouldn't even know that it was him. You wouldn't even know if he was right in front of you talking to you now. You wouldn't even realize it. You're so, I don't want to talk about my people. I love my people, black, white, and the white people know I love them too. You know, like they say, some of my best friends is white. Some of my best friends. Why? Yes, they are. And I'm serious about this, you know. It's not just a black thing. It's just not Black Lives Matter. Every life, all life matters. You know, this thing is very serious. We hearing about wars and rumors of wars, and that mad woman Hillary get up there. You know, a woman's scorn is a hell of a thing. And she get up there, she mad with a lot of people. She got dirt on everybody up around the White House, but they got some dirt on her too. It's some nasty stuff going down. I just heard Putin talking about how nasty the government was, and the government just lie and they lie and lie. But the essence of what I'm trying to convey to you is this: is that if we were intelligent beings, if we were illuminated beings, we wouldn't even have to go through slavery if we knew what the deal was. I'll take that back. We had to go through slavery, like I was explaining in my last video, because we're paying a karmic debt for our ancestors. When the Anunnaki came down here, they put the created beings, the genetically engineered beings, into slavery. So it's written that if you put somebody into slavery, one day you're going to go into slavery. So just like yous out there now, white people, your forefathers put my forefathers in slavery, and now we're paying for all, you know, you got to pay for all that and all that. Same thing happened with us. Our ancestors put y'all's ancestors, the first created beings, into slavery. So that's why our ancestors had to go into slavery. But I know I might be talking above some of y'all's head, but a lot of you have been keeping up with the universal energy, the universal information, so you know what I'm talking about. I'm not claiming to be God. I'm not claiming to be your thoughts. I'm not claiming to be the one that put all the information. I'm just saying, before anybody started having any kind of website, I was being spied on by Nipper Mill. I was just spied on by the State Department, the government. I know they were looking at me because I had a tracker. So I looked at my tracker and I saw who was watching me. And I know some of the scientists, some of the big scientists now that's talking about Nibiru, I know they've read some of my work. And I know that they learned a lot from me. And I know they're studying me right now. I know that. And I know they're going to need me before it's all over. So I look at when Haile Selassie came to Jamaica, I believe in 1963 or whenever that was, he flew over there. Mortimer Plainter went to the plane and come down the cloud. So when the Anunnaki come, the Rastafari is going to be a part of that too. And they know that Anunnaki is out there. The government knows they're out there. But man, it's a shame. It's bad how evil that the government is, man. It's really bad. But then you look at it. It's so deep until all this stuff is divinely ordered too. It appears that the government is doing something, but they're really not. It's just a drama that we're playing. But some of y'all say, man, they're killing our brothers in the street. But notice who they're killing. You don't see any black Muslims. I mean, seriously, Protestant, intelligent people. You just don't see them getting every now and then. You know, I heard y'all say. I heard the news the other day. What was this guy named? Dr. Dre was. Police came out to see him, but that's a rare case. Very seldom do you see a Rasta. I'm talking about a Rasta. I'm not talking about these dreadlock thugs. Very seldom do you see a cultured person. Very seldom do you see intelligent people having an encounter with the authorities. Very seldom. Very seldom do you see a Muslim. And I know they will kill a Muslim or Rasta and all that. I know they locked up Rajneesh. He was a very saintly man. They locked him up. But his people did something wrong. They had a right to do that. But if you stay out their way, I mean, they killed Jesus, you know, so I know they will. But if you play your cards right, you won't, avoid them. Don't confront them. Just stay out of their way. If possible, just stay out of their way. That's what I do. I don't go around trying to look at butts anymore in the ghetto. I used to get in my car, I used to ride around through the ghetto and see what kind of coochie mamas out there showing what, you know, and all that. I used to live on the beach, so I was into the freaknik thing. I had my camera, so I was a real sinful person too. You know what I mean? I had that sex spirit on me so bad. All I had to do was just look at them and drop them, pull the dress up, and me take a picture right there. I had it on me real bad, but I overcame that lower energy, raised my energy up, and I'm a changed man now. I've been like that for a long time now. You know, some woman I was with not too long ago, I said, woman, I've been celibate for over 10 years now. She looked at me like I was crazy. Oh, you lying. She tried to tempt me, trying to show me a little something. I said, well, that don't really faze me, you know. It's just going to take more than that to phase me. So the government can't send me no white woman, can't send me no Jew woman. It's going to take more than that to make a deal with me. But we have to wake up because we're in a bad shape right now. So I just want to say that to. I'm trying to cover all bases because I know everything's going to be shut down soon. But like I say, they're going to start bothering with me. You know, they start taking some of my videos off. Like I said, I have over 1,000, close to 1,000 videos. I had more than that, but they're looking at copyright laws. You can't even play anybody's music now. I mean, you can. It's not really against the law. It's just that you can't make any money off of it. But if they want to stop you, if you're really saying something like I am, if you're really giving out some serious information, they're going to stop bothering with you. They're going to start taking your stuff off. They can do it. So what we have to do is formulate our own communication system. And we're going to have to find a way to communicate with each other when this system goes down. So we have to take advantage of this. And all the brothers out there, the Professor Griffs, all those brothers out there, I can't name their name, but you know what I'm talking about. The guy that's on the chitlin circuit right now. We need to come sit down and form a consensus as to what we should do. And you should take a look at the Holy Book of Wonder. Just go on to Google, any search engine, and put in Ital Iman and the Holy Book of Wonder, and you'll be able to order the book. A brother called me the other day. He was going over to Sri Lanka, and he sent me a picture of him with the Holy Book of Wonder. He said, I'm reading the Holy Book of Wonder going to Sri Lanka. And it's amazing how the people in Africa, the people in Cameroon, even the people in Jamaica have Ital Iman study groups. There's a little group up there in the hills that's been studying me for like years. It's amazing that the foreigners are picking up, and the local people, I don't know what they're doing. Some people, I see they put like, they check the like button, but they don't read what I'm saying. They don't even look at the video. But I send them a tag, they like, but they don't really study it. What is that? I'm not one that seeking gratification or anything. I just want you to get the message because Hillary is fixing to be president, I think. And that's going to be a hell of a thing. And we have a safe fail mechanism to master Janet. We got to do that. There were 2 white boys. I'll say this a few times. 2 Jews. It took a minute, but they put together Woodstock. The government didn't stop them. And I know this is on a higher level, but see, they can't stop because it's ordained. But it can't happen. I can't do it by myself. And I also know that one God, one man in God has always been the majority. But I'm concerned about Stevie Wonder. He's a part of the system. Now, if he don't acknowledge, that doesn't mean that what I'm saying is wrong. Because what is written is true. Now, it might be that he's sold out, or it might be that the people around him just won't. And I know that it's dangerous for me to be talking about it, because if somebody wanted to stop it, maybe they could try to attack him. But I believe if they try to attack a righteous man, that the gods will intervene. So I think they know that they can't do that. So that's why they hadn't did it before. But just think about it. They know how powerful Stevie Wonder is. They chose him to be the ambassador, the ambassador of peace for the United Nations. They chose him. Therefore, they know who he is. So for all you fundamentalist Christians, Egypt is not evil. Get that out of your head, because you're going to see soon what Egypt is all about. All you black Christians, you know that Jesus ain't coming back. You know it's not going to be like that. When it goes down, it's not going to be like that. T.D. Jakes is a devil. You know, going to church nowadays is just like going to a club. If you want to go look at booty, go to the church. If you want to go look at some fine women, go to the church. It's become a place of pornography. It's a den of sin. So there ain't nothing in the church. Ain't nothing in the church. So y'all can get off that trip about Jesus and the church, because it's BS. Total BS. You don't know nothing about Jesus in the church. So you pretend that you're a Christian. If you don't know that your Bible is allegory, metaphors, and similes, y'all need to send this around to the Christian people. Let them see the nappy-headed Rasta man. Jesus would look just like this. Jesus looked just like this. Let them see what Jesus looked like. Let them see what Jesus talked like. He talked just like this. He even went into the temple and turned the tables over. He didn't come to bring peace. He come with a sword. He come to set the record straight. If you Christians don't know by now, 21st century, the age of Aquarius, that your book come from the writings on the wall of the Great Pyramids, and the original text is the Sumerian text dictated by the Anunnaki to their created being. And the Bible said, let us make man in our own image. That was black people with big, broad noses. You can see those noses on the Sphinx. Right now, my nose like that because I'm actually a Native American. My people come from right here in America. This is my land right here in America. I didn't come up on no boat. My ancestors didn't come up on no boat. Look here. The Sumerian text is your Bible. So if you don't know that, I mean, the government know this. Even the White House, the symbols in D.C., it's all centered around Egypt. They know that. The Masonic rituals, the Masonic rites that this country is built on. See, if that capstone was down on that pyramid on your dollar bill, it would mean that this country actually was based on the principles of Christ. But those principles they're not going by those principles. So that's why that capstone is not sitting on the top. We got to set that capstone on the top and get America back like it was supposed to be, like Trump said. But anyway, America has gone astray. And another thing, I converse with a minister sometimes. I have counselors, and one of my counselors is a Christian minister, very bright fellow. And our conversation is always that everything that's taking place now is ordained. It had to happen. See, America is a mystery. That's why they call her Babylon the Great Mystery, the Mystery Babylon. Is because it was ordained that she do what she do. God built her up, made her rule over many nations just to bring her butt down. So she's going to fall. She knows she's destined to fall. It's destined. That's why they call it mystery. She's only 200 something years old. And we're actually just 300 something years up from slavery. We hadn't been in slavery. It's no 500 something years. 300 something years we just up from slavery. And America herself is only 200 something years of age. That's the youngest nation ever in the history. The ancient Maya culture from 600 A.D. to 900, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, what's that? 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 300. How many years is that? Well, anyway, from 600 A.D. to 900 A.D. And America is just 200 years old. So it's very young, but it's very powerful. It grew real fast. And she's coming down. That's what the Twin Towers say. So don't fret. It's coming down. And it's not going to last too much after this election either. Next year, there's a phenomenal thing that's taking place on September 23rd. Check out Revelations 12. And this all has to do with the so-called Jewish Feast of Trumpets. Note the Feast of Trumpets. For Virgo is going to be visible, the sun-clad woman of Revelations that gives birth to the Christ. Jupiter will be coming from among this Virgo's legs in the sky. The moon will be at her feet, and the stars as a crown, part of her crown. That's playing out. Now, Virgo married, and I've told you the story about the Nation of Islam, their temple called Mosque Miriam, Mosque Mary, and how in the year 1988 when Jesse Jackson was running for president, the Democratic slogan was 2-1 a brawl. He had a debate against Dukakis, and the theme was 2-1 a brawl. play on the word, to one of Brawley, who was said to be raped by 6 white men, and they defecated in a bag and put on the steps. And so Farrakhan picked her up and brought her into the temple, and he gave her the Islamic name of Miriam, of Mary. And he named that temple the same thing, Mary. Why did he do that? Okay, now if you go over in, see the Nation of Islam is a great mystery. It's a phenomenon. It's actually an enigma. If you go to Atlanta, Georgia, Silas Muhammad, who's actually a branch of the Nation of Islam, they call Elijah Muhammad Mother Mary. Why is that? And their temple is like on the Greco-Roman style, just like it is in Washington, D.C. Why is that? So we got this Mary thing. And the symbology of, they have a lot of Virgo symbology in our nation's capital too. Why is that? So the Nation of Islam was given 60 years to rule, 60 years to preach their message. And it's in the book As a Light Shineth from the East by Wallace Muhammad. It said that Farad said they had 60 years to do their thing, symbolic of the 6,000 years of the government's rule, or the rule of Adam, or the rule of the blue-eyed devil, the white man. Why is that? So their time was up in the year 1990. The 60 years was up. If you see Farrakhan in reprobate state now and joining to leading people to Scientology, it's nothing strange, because that's a part of the esoteric teachings, because their time is up anyway, so you shouldn't even be following that. But next year, something very significant is going to happen. So we have the year 2000, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Mars, 5 naked eye planets align with the Earth for the first time in 6,000 years, make 6 trillions of tons of ice and water sweep over the planet. The Ross Ice Shelf broke off at that time. The poles started shifting. So in 2012, we had another thing happen, another shift in consciousness. The Maya calendar ended. Same-sex marriages were ushered in. So now the third strike is in the year, next year as a matter of fact. Something's going to happen there too. But even before that, even before the election, we're going to see great things happening. We already see the helter-skelter in the streets, the summer of chaos. You are now in tune. On the one, the force itself. At this time, he called the holy Master Blaster Janet. Look to Egypt, from which cometh our help. Anunnaki, yes I am. One love. Greetings and salutations of peace. I am here before you, the 30th day of the 7th month, numerically equal in number 19, putting final touches on this work called The Final Truth. We, as a black people, are prejudiced against ourselves. It's a division between the haves and the have-nots. There is no unity. It is a false idea played out in the marketplace before the assembly of political correctness. We talk in our groups of hidden colors about our plight, but it's only talk. The ones possessed by what I have coined as the Messiah complex. Those would-be or want to be messiahs are not willing to come together and form a consensus with the one who has the answer, in fear of losing his or her illusional leadership. From the 10th so-called Sumerian tablet comes the most profound words ever written. There's a possibility that we get back to what I just said. Now we're gonna elaborate a little bit on that. As we know, we have quite a few brothers and sisters that's delivering information to our people. We have what's called the Chitlin Circuit, and we have the people like Farrakhan and all of those people. And on that level of Farrakhan and all of those people who are actually offshoots of what happened in the year 1930, which is very important, and we're going to get to that. And that's why the Holy Book of Wonder is so important. We will get to that, why the Holy Book of Wonder is so important. But we do have what's called the Messiah complex, and everybody that's talking has a little piece of it. But if you notice, everybody that's talking now, they're using profanity. The profanity started back doing the Dick Gregory wrote a book called Nigger, and it's a very important book, but that word was key. And we understand that Ningus, we know the root of that word, etymology of that word, and we know Niger, Ningus, and all of this. We study it. We have been educated somewhat for the last 300 and so years. So we understand all that, but there is some type of psychosis that has set in the brains and the psyche of the black people. And we did a lot of good. We did some things that we shouldn't have done, like we allowed white people to come into our inner circle. And if you can remember back in the 60s, the white people were dancing like monkeys. They had no rhythm whatsoever. But through the advent of their media, through the power of their media, and the black people want to be somebody, want to be seen, the whites have been taught. Twerking is a perfect example. They were saying that twerking was like totally crazy, it was lunatic fringe, and it was nasty. But then the white girls took it over. They've actually started eating pork chops and all that. They've got big butts now. They've intermarried, married, and we've taught them a whole lot of things. So on that lower level, they have surpassed us on that. And now we're wearing weaves trying to get like them. And we become this nasty, funky cage of every foul and unclean bird. And they've injected AIDS into our system. And everybody out there is sick. Atlanta is just infested. So all of these brothers spitting lyrics. None of those people have the solution to our people. Now we're going to skip over to the white people. We're going to talk about them. They talk about our science. They talk about Egypt. There are a plethora of them on the internet pretending to try to figure out what happened in Egypt. How were the pyramids built? And they have the money to go over and excavate the pyramids and different sacred sites around the world. Every sacred site that was put there by ancient black people is controlled now by the United Nations. Somebody from the United Nations. There was a site, last site I went to was a site of a crater there in Arizona. Crater, I forgot the name of the place, but it was just a few months ago, about 3 months ago, I was out there. And some rich family got some connection to the United Nations. That land now is private. So, as we illustrate in the Holy Book of Wonder, like now they're talking about the CMEs and coronal mass ejections coming in. We have the wisdom in the Holy Book of Wonder that tells us how to ward off these type things. And one of the prerequisite for that, we have to be in one of those sacred sites, because everywhere on earth that a meteorite has failed, that area is charged with electromagnetism. There's electromagnetic charge there. And we go to the myth of King Arthur and the Round Table is an allegory, metaphor, and similes about how to slay the dragon, so to speak. So the CMEs in antiquity was known as the dragon. So we have that science in the Holy Book of Wonder. But we can't, if we had to get there today to those sacred sites, You got to pay a fine or they're going to have it closed off because some rich white family owned that site. Has nothing to do with him, but it has something to do. Those sacred sites were set there for our redemption. But the devil, Satan himself, has blocked all those sites off. So we can't go to those sites. So you never hear this coming from Farrakhan. You never hear this type wisdom coming from any of those other brothers because they don't know. I'm not representing myself. I'm blowing my own horn. I represent the Rastafari movement. You know, on earth, I represent Anunnaki. This inspiration is coming from the Sirius constellation. This is a very serious thing here. But the government has set up these blocks and they've tampered with our food, genetically engineered food. Think about this. This is what genetically engineering is. I know a little bit about farming, agriculture, permaculture. So you have plant life. So they get human life, human cells or human life or animal life and inject it into the plant life. That's what genetically engineered stuff is. Okay, so right now in the little garden I've had growing for about 3 months now, there are no bees in the area. So I got watermelons out there. I don't have any money, so I'm depending on this garden. So watermelons will help me out a lot. But right now we have a lot of flowers. But there are no bees. So the watermelon flowers can't be pollinated because they're not self-pollinators. So the system of nature is so off. The bees are dying at a rapid rate because of what the system is doing. So I might not even have watermelons. Don't have the money to get around and go get some bees and bring the bees to the area. But you got white people with a whole lot of money, and they're up in the mountains somewhere. They got everything together. But black people out there flying over to Africa, they're going back home and doing farming over there. It's a whole lot of crazy stuff going on. You got AIDS going over there. Something might happen to those people. So, getting back to the people, they go over and they dig up this and dig up that and they find this. It's not about you. It's about us. And what you don't realize is that in the beginning you were our scribes anyway. So it's actually your nature to do what you're doing. You did the work for us. You were our slaves in the beginning. So we're not ignorant. We know we don't even have to go to Egypt. You done went over there and all we got to do is just read the books and our DNA, our own consciousness, the God that's within us is going to tell us what's right and what's wrong. But some of us have been fortunate enough to go over there, even though we don't know what in the hell we're looking at. We've actually had Christians that go over there, and they don't even believe in it. They don't even believe that the gods were Anunnaki, that the gods built the pyramid. They think it's all about Jesus. We're so sick. They still think it's about Jesus. Why are you going to Egypt if you don't understand what the hell it is? That's the sickness. But, yes, we're prejudiced against our own people. For instance, Farrakhan knows that I'm out here. There's experience with me and Farrakhan in this book, the Holy Book of Wonder. But he's not going to come down to a poor man. But if I was fortunate enough to raise $2 or $3 million for the last 30 years, and I had a big following, he would come down. That's just how we think. You know, he don't have any money. He don't have any power. He don't have any money. He don't have any power. So I'm not going to come down and talk to him. He can't do nothing for me. But Farrakhan is super rich. Everybody in his organization is below him. Nobody is sharing that mansion. Nobody is sharing that wealth. I know a man personally right now, Minister Lucius Bay, if he's still living. I interviewed him a few months ago, and he poor. He was in a convalescent home. And he's a man that built the first temple for the nation of Islam. It's still standing today in Washington, D.C. He built it from the ground up. A master mathematician was this guy. But getting back to the white folks now, they want to know who built the pyramids. They cut the Sphinx nose off. Who built the pyramids? A bunch of foolishness going on. You cannot deny. And in the 10th tablet of the the so-called lost books of Enki from the Sumerian text said, it's a very profound statement. It's like the profound statement that Stevie Wonder made the other day when he was in Europe. He said about concerning Black Lives Matter. He said, Black Lives Matter, not the organization Black Lives Matter. Everybody want to think that's what he was talking about. But Steve is deep. he said he used codes also. He said Black Lives Matter because black people were the first people on this planet. So back during the time of the pyramids, Enki said to his people, as they had built the pyramid, they said, when in future days, and this squashes the whole argument, and that's why I'm making this particular tape, because I want to end it all. I want to put it down on the record what the deal is here in America these last days, because things are winding up right now, and all the signs are there. It's like, for instance, my fig trees and my plants out there, the watermelons, for instance. Whenever you see that bloom, you know that the fruit is fixing to come on that tree. So you're talking about no man's hour. I done covered that too. So you need to study my work, and you'll find out what they meant by no man knoweth the hour. But when you see that bloom, and this is not allegory or a metaphor or something, this is literal truth. When you see that bloom on the watermelon vine, first there's a female bloom, and then there's a male bloom. And the bees have to take the pollen from the male, and stick it into the female, and then the fruit start coming. But when you see that bloom, you know it's not long before the fruit start coming on that tree. On that vine. So Enki said, after they build the pyramids, after they build the 3 monuments and other things that they built there on the Giza Plateau, he said, when in the future days, this is counsel around their work. This is profound counsel. This is directed to the white people. And the black people, you'll learn something too. And it's us that did it, us in the Bible. Let us create man. Now they doing genetically engineered and made Dolly the goat, and then cloning and doing the DNA thing with the fruit and stuff. And think about this. 1,000 years ago, the gods came. Over 45,000 years ago, the gods came down to black people. And they say, when in future days it will be asked, when and by whom was this marvel fashioned? Now this is scripture. It says, Enki says, let us beside the twin peaks a monument create. The age of the lion, let it announce. The image of Engiskadida, later known as Thoth, and in Central America he was known as the plum serpent, the peak's designer, let its face be. So that's Enki, that's Thoth, that's Ptah. Let it precisely towards the place of the celestial chariots gaze. So it was looking out into where the chariots are going to come from. Now, that relates to what's happening next year, 2017, when Virgo, we're going to talk about that, Virgo appear in the sky and Jupiter coming down, birthing Jupiter. And you know that Jupiter stayed in the vicinity of Virgo exactly around 9 months, just like a baby is. So something is happening. We're going to get back to that. The image of Engiskadida, later known as Thoth, the peak's designer, let its face be. Let it precisely towards the place of the celestial chariots gaze. When by whom and the purpose, let it to future generations reveal. So Enlil agreed with Enki's suggestion and decreed. So you got that? So there's no more discussion about, I know everybody's not going to hit it, but if y'all would pass it around that everybody understand. This is the final call. This is the final truth. And it's presented to you by a Rastafari. We're going to let you know why and the significance of the Rastafari movement. Okay. Like the Bible, this book, the Holy Book of Wonder, is an esoteric spiritual account of our plight, starting from the year 1930, when we were sent 2 redemption movements, the Nation of Islam and the Rastafari. Haile Selassie was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah in 1930. Direct descent from David and Solomon. And if you look at my stuff on Facebook and on my blog, back in the year 2002, I traced the lineage of his wife, Empress Menen, all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad, and his lineage all the way back to the Anunnaki. And Those were the two redemption movements, which was 300. So we find that Christianity, 1930, Nation of Islam, Rastafari came on the scene. So we show that Christianity and Rastafari, those two movements, have always been one. We have something in common. Okay. 1930 was 311 years after the first slaves were bought here in the year 1619. 311 years from slavery. God sent us, the black man who were slaves, ordained the gods did, two movements. All the other movements that you see, the Black Panthers and everything, and I know there's some inside information at being a journalist. I know this for a fact. And if you just look at it, all of the other movements came from the Nation of Islam. Everything out there that's shaking came from the Nation of Islam and the Rastafari movement. Now, Malcolm wasn't too keen on the Rastafaris. They tried to talk to Malcolm back in the day, but he just couldn't pick up on it. And we're not going to be concerned about that. It's happening now. I know a lot about Malcolm, especially the last 9 months of his life. I've met all the people that were associated with that Organization of African Unity, and I've been inside of that, and I've interviewed these people. So that happened 311 years after the first slave was brought over in 1619. Today, right now, 2016, 7/30/2016, which equals the number 19 numerically, it's 397 years since slavery. Next year, it'll be 398 years. So, we have all these people talking about this and that and this and that about ancient stuff and the Anunnaki people. Who were the Anunnaki? You know, who were the Pueblo people? Who were the first Americans? You got the Blackamoors talking about this and that and getting their, papers together and all that. All that's good. All that's good. We all come from the Anunnaki. Okay, now, this book, the Holy Book of Wonder, we were going to show you something here. I told you that the Nation of Islam was given 60 years, was symbolic. Now, that was some serious esoteric stuff that Farad Muhammad laid on them. If you study my work, you will see that. You can't get this from Professor Griff. You can't get this from Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett, Sarah Netta, Sarah Sue Seti, Black Dot. I can go on and on and on and on and on. You can't get this from them. They don't have it. This is the definitive book here of our plight. And we're going to show you something. I was telling you that the Nation of Islam has 60 years to rule. And if you don't believe that, go find Wallace Muhammad. I met Wallace Muhammad in the year 1981 when Stevie Wonder was having the Right Up a Peace press conference. And I had the Light of Egypt, the book The Light of Egypt with me. And he was right at the press gate. His entourage was around him, his bodyguards and everything. I walked straight up to Wallace Muhammad. As I started walking up to Wallace Muhammad, his entourage parted like the Red Sea. I walked up to him. I put my right hand out, and I put my right foot inside of his left foot, and I pulled him toward him, and I whispered in his ear what I was dealing with. I have pictures of that to prove that. Well, they've gotten away, but somebody has those pictures to prove that. So, what I'm saying is, he wrote the book called As a Light Shining from the East. In that book, it explains their teachings. You hear about the teachings of the secret teachings of the Nation of Islam, that the secret lessons. Well, in those secret lessons, it states that the Nation of Islam will have 60 years to rule, to do their teaching. After those 60 years, it's all up. It's a Rastafari's time now. Remember, they came on the scene at the same time. So in 1990, those 60 years was up. Symbolic of the 6,000 years that the blue-eyed devil had to rule us. Now, we're going to go to the Holy Book of Wonder. We're going to show you something esoterically here about the Nation of Islam. Okay. On page 31, book 9 of the Holy Book of Wonder, it says, and we just want to go halfway down the page, the observer is very important. Let us look at 10/16/1996. The leader of the Nation of Islam will speak to the allies. And there is one world order now. When I say allies, I mean the government. We must listen close. We must become meditative and watch all signs, as all is important. Let us do the math. Let us do our homework. As 10/16/1999 comes to Surah 33, the Allies. As in the year 1995, we came to 32, the Adoration. The black man atones, the year 1995. Remember the Million Man March? The Adoration, the black man atones for his sins and told the devils to do likewise. Okay, let us look at if the nation's evil masonry. Let us see if he joins Farrakhan, the nation of evil masonry. Let us see if he sells us out. For in the year 1988, the Democratic debates, this is very important, when the mosque was turned into Mary, and the theme was 2-1 abroad. I know you've heard me talk about that before. The theme in 1988, when they dedicated when they christened the temple that Elijah Muhammad had purchased back in the day, Farrakhan got it, and they christened that temple. They call it Mosque Miriam, Mary. Theme was 2-1 abroad. The theme, and Jesse Jackson and Duke Cockett was running it at that time, and their theme was 2-1 abroad. Now let's show you why. Okay, Jesse Jackson and Duke Cockett ran for the presidency, Democratic debates in Atlanta. He gave us a sign then, the event dubbed the overwhelming event, Farrakhan did, in 1998, corresponding to Surah 88. When he turned on the light of the mosque, on the top of the mosque, there's a light there. Okay? And Farrakhan had on a British derby, which was symbolic. You ain't never seen Farrakhan wearing a British derby before. And I can remember the time, and it's on record, I was there listening to it. I remember the time Farrakhan said he would never wear a dashiki. He would never put on sandals. That's how much he hated black people and culture. I would never wear a dashiki. He thought that was something below him. But also, you never saw him wear a British derby. But in 1988, when they dedicated that temple, he had on a British derby and a British uniform. Just like an alien in New York with a walking cane and everything. Okay. He gave us a sign, the event dubbed the overwhelming event in 1988, corresponding to Surah 88, the overwhelming event. And indeed, it was an overwhelming event. So, it seems that if though Farrakhan's finger should have matched that button there on that dial that was raised, and that light, it was a lot of dignitaries. The late Ben Amin was there. A lot of black dignitaries was there when they were dedicating that temple. It was Khalid Muhammad's finger that pushed that button. Khalid Muhammad, dark-skinned black Khalid Muhammad, the revolutionary, pushed that button. His finger had that ring on it that's on the symbolic of that crescent that was on top of it. That's on top of that building, Mosque Miriam, with that star on it. So that let us know something. Farrakhan had went over to the Illuminati at that time. It was symbolic. And it showed you who the man was. But later they killed the man. Listen. Okay. When he turned on the light of the mosque, and it was an election year, then Tawana Brawley, a young black woman, raped by supposedly 6 white men, raped by white men, 6 in number, as recorded in the medias of that day, was brought into the temple. Check this out. Farrakhan brought into the temple and given the same name as the temple. The late sister, beautiful sister. She dealt with the number 19. Tanetta Muhammad's last wife of Elijah Muhammad, gave her a dress called Code 19 as corresponding to Surah 19, which is Mary. Okay, they named the temple Miriam. They didn't name the temple Elijah Muhammad or just any other name. They gave a female name, Miriam. And when Tawana Brawley was raped by 6 white men, they brought her in there, and Tanetta Muhammad made a pristine white dress and gave it to her. The dress was called Code 19. All right. The girl was no virgin. Pure, pristine white dress representing virginity. The girl was no virgin, for she was defiled. She was raped by 6 white devils, placed in a bag of human waste and abandoned, as recorded and broadcast in the medias of that day. They have since recanted that and say that she wasn't raped at all. But we don't know, but there's a reason why all this thing was going Farrakhan. Okay. There are ways of looking at it, and the verdict is not in yet. Nor has the man Farrakhan been condemned, at that time. But Farrakhan has had a lot of breaks. Allah has spared Farrakhan through a lot. This is in the Holy Book of Wonder. Get the Holy Book of Wonder. You will see, you will find a lot of information in the Holy Book of Wonder. And the people who have been reading the Holy Book of Wonder, they're up on things. A lot of you seem like, oh, that's old Ital, that's old crazy weed smoking Ital. But I had experience with Farrakhan back in, forgot how many years ago it's been. It was back in the early 80s or somewhere along there. He had went on a fact-finding tour. It's in the Holy Book of Wonder. He went on a tour of wisdom, he called it. He had met with the Ayatollah Khomeini. The Ayatollah told him that Idi Amin was still living. They had Idi Amin hid up back up there in the mountains. And Farrakhan, when he was coming back to the United States, Farrakhan said he prayed to Allah that to give him a sign that if the government, he always talking about, you bother me, the government, you bother me, and Allah gonna get you and all that. But he said, give me a sign that if the white folks bother me, that Allah would take care of it. Give me a sign. He told, I was right there listening to him. He said the sign was that Florida had caught on fire in 30 miles in each direction. Now, little did he know, I was meditating that same spot that fire had happened at. I was meditating to go to a concert. Stevie Wonder was supposed to be in Florida, but somehow they got changed. So I said, wait a minute, I'm going to Chicago and to see Farrakhan then, because I'm on this mission about the Master's Glass of Jamming. It's an urgency to me. I didn't know it's going to take all this time. So I get into around Gary, Indiana, where you turn when you drop down into Chicago from Indiana, you drop down and you go under this little bridge and you pass by a lot of water. I forgot how it was now, but I was saying I was really deep into meditation back then, so I went into Samadhi on a Greyhound bus, poor Ross on a Greyhound bus now. And so I called the final call and I told them I was coming, but they was doing all kind of stuff. They wasn't paying any attention. So I say if Farrakhan is who he say he is, he can pick up on me. But when I went into meditation, I saw this control tower in my third eye, which meant that Farrakhan was at the airport. You know, the airport control tower, I saw that in my third eye. So when I got there, they told me that Farrakhan was at the airport and they was having this fanfare. They was calling him Big Brother. And they were saying that Big Brother is back in the town. So you had to pay $2. I told the people what I was trying to do, but they said he wasn't there. So I was thinking, so I said, wait, they having this fanfare thing. They want people to go out there to meet him. So I asked the people, so they said, okay, you pay us $3. I think it was $3 or $2. They said you pay the fee, and you can get on the bus with our people. So the bus I was on was a whole lot of women. So I had a book I had wrote called the Pros and Cons, and I had one of Yogananda's books. So all the little sisters on the bus, they was excited because they wasn't allowed to read stuff like that. So they was reading my book and Yogananda. They was all excited. They was excited by the brother was on the bus. It was like that Farrakhan wasn't really teaching them nothing. They were really excited because I was on the bus and I was teaching while I was on the bus. All the sisters in there, the Nation of Islam sisters all wrapped up, beautiful and everything. So I went out there like wild and crazy, my locks just flashing, young locks too, locks all hanging. I wasn't going bald at that time, but my lock was hanging and I had on my Jesus sandals, I think. I don't know exactly what I had on, but I was dressed pretty wild. So I ran to the limousine. So Farrakhan said, come out to the meeting tomorrow. So I went out to the meeting, right? So some kind of way I got on the front seat. So I'm up there listening to Farrakhan talking about he had a talk with the Ayatollah Khomeini. He told him about Idi Amin. Told us about the fire that started. Now here I am right there. I was listening. I said, wow, that. That's where I just come from. I was out there when it started because when I was leaving, I couldn't even see the sun. I was going to the bus station to come to Chicago. I couldn't even see the sun. They had the sun blocked out. So here I am, the message from God. He went on a wisdom fight and finding tour talking to the Ayatollah. And here the Rasta man come with the information. So to let me know this thing was spiritual, that God, that Allah was with me, I closed my eyes and I tuned in to Farrakhan. I know that I had already tuned in to him when he was at the airport in my mind. So just let you know that I'm pretty profound in the art of meditation, the art of psychic warfare. So Farrakhan was just talking, blah, blah, the government do this, blah, 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 Allah gonna do this. You know how he is, blah, 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 blah. So I tuned into his butt. I went straight into his brain. I saw that green background. The blue light came into the green. All praise is due to the plum circle. Yes. Now I saw the blue background come in, and the colors just came in, and I tuned into his brain. And when he said something, and Inky gave me the signal, and I raised my index finger in a voodoo sign. Farrakhan, yes. as if though he had been hit by a bullet. All of a sudden, the Nation of Islam, the fruit of Islam came out of nowhere and grabbed me. It's on record. They might be done wipe it out, but it's on record. It's on film. This is a real event. They came out and took me into a room, a side room, and briefed me and told me I couldn't do that. And I was being sarcastic. When they first grabbed me, they say, you can't do that. I said, do what? Because you can't prove you touched somebody with your brain. But everybody saw, ugh! Why else would the FOI come and grab me? So I'm just letting you know. The Holy Book of Wonder is a very serious book. You are now in tune. And what the Holy Book of Wonder is, like I say, just like the Bible, it explains what happened since the year 1930. Has some beautiful stuff in there. Beautiful stuff. Real beautiful stuff. You are now in tune. You're on the one for real at this time. We call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. So I just want to make clear the record up and make things straight here, because Hillary might become the president and Obama might suspend the Constitution. We never know what's fixing to take place, and we know next year something's going to happen. We know things are going to happen, but we gotta come together. We gotta come together, and we have the solution right here in the Holy Book of Wonder. It's very urgent. Go to your search engine. Man, I need the money. Yes, I'm pushing it, but this is the real thing. It's not a scam. It's very vital at this time. And you think that all the Rastafari do is smoke weed and all this crazy stuff and have fish parties and screw white women? No, this is not about this. This is the Rastafari. We don't care what they're doing over there in Jamaica. If they want to come join me, I've been over there. I tried to preach to them years ago. I've talked to a bunch of them, 1985. What I found out was a bunch of gays up there in the Bobo Ashanti camp. And you know, people might talk against it, but I know what I found. So it's not off because of what's happening right now. We're not going to talk about that. There's some good bobos up there. It's good and bad everywhere you go. But I'm just saying, the Holy Book of Wonder. Support your brother Rastafari Ital Iman. This is the Rastafari, the definitive book of Rastafari, coming from an American roster who's delivering the message in the music, the esoteric message in the music. We're dealing with sound vibration. And yes, it's a Masonic vibration, but when we say Masonic, we mean Maya sound vibration. The root word of Masonic is Maya sound vibration, Masonicia, the Maya sound vibration. That's what we're dealing with. You see the owl there on the book, and you've heard about the false owl in Bohemian Grove, but this is the real owl left to us by our ancient native ancestors. This owl is down in the state of Florida, left to us by the Mayacan, the Mayas that traveled over to Florida. When the French got into Florida, they left that owl for us. I discovered that owl a few years ago, and I'm vibrating on that same vibration, vibration 13. That's the owl. It's not that fake owl that they have there, the Illuminati. This is our illumination right here. Get the Holy Book of Wonder to understand what the number 13 means to the black people in the world today. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call the Holy Master Blaster Jam. Yes, I am.